Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Ida Dwi Safitri. Let's begin our meeting today by saying Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we will discuss about relative clause. Before we discuss about relative clause, what's the meaning of relative clause? First, we have to understand about sentences and clause. Sentences are a combination of words that express complete thought and ideas. A sentence consists of smaller units, clauses, phrases, and words. The biggest grammar unit is the sentence. The most important unit in composing sentences is a clause. Clause is a group of words containing a subject and a verb. But clauses are not sentences because clauses must be combined with other clauses in order to form complete sentences. The next is independent clause and dependent clause. Independent clause is a complete sentence. It contains the main subject and verb of a sentence. It also called a main clause. While dependent clause is not a complete sentence, it must be connected to an independent clause. Now we talk about relative clause. Relative clause, or also called adjective clause, is a dependent clause that modifies noun. Relative clause is dependent clause, so it must be connected to independent clause. It describes, identifies, or gives further information about noun. The main function of a relative clause is to modify a noun phrase. There are two types of relative clause. They are relative pronoun and relative adverb. Relative pronoun consists of who, whom, which, whose, and that, while relative adverb consists of where and when. A adjective clause used as the subject. Number 1, who. I tell the woman, she helped me. There are two sentences in this example. The first sentence is I thank the woman, and the second is she helped me. It can be I thank the woman who helped me, or I thank the woman that helped me. I thank the woman is an independent clause. Who helped me is an adjective clause. The adjective clause modifies the noun woman. Who here modifies woman. Who helped me here modifies woman. Number 2 is which. The book is mine. It is on the table. There are two sentences here. The first one is the book is mine. The second is it is on the table. It can be the book which is on the table is mine, or the book that is on the table is mine. Which is on the table is an adjective clause. The adjective clause modifies the noun book. This example, who is used for people, which is used for things. That is used for both people and things. B adjective clause used as the object of a verb. Number 1, whom. The man was Mr. Jones. I saw him. The first sentence is the man was Mr. Jones. The second sentence is I saw him. When we combine it, it can be the man who or whom I saw was Mr. Jones. B. The man that I saw was Mr. Jones. And C. The man I saw was Mr. Jones. Who is usually used instead of whom, especially in speaking. Whom is generally used only in very formal English. So when we talk to each other in daily activities or in informal way, we use who. But if we want to write article or something like that in formal English, we use whom. And for example, in C, the object pronoun is often omitted from an adjective clause. So it only the man I saw, so who, whom, and that is omitted, are omitted. It only the man I saw was Mr. Jonas. Number two, which. There are two sentences here. The first sentence is the movie wasn't very good, and the second, we saw it last night. It can be combined to be A. The movie which we saw last night wasn't very good. And B. The movie that we saw last night wasn't very good. And C. The movie we saw last night wasn't very good. In C, the object pronoun is often omitted from an adjective clause. So it is the same as the example before. And who or whom is used for people, which is used for things, that is used for both people and things. C. Using whose in adjective clause. For example, number one, I know the man. His bicycle was stolen. When we combine it, it can be I know the man whose bicycle was stolen. Was stolen here modifies the bicycle. And whose replaces his. So, I know the man whose bicycle was stolen. And number two, the student writes well. I read her composition. It can be the student whose composition I read writes well. So, I read here modifies the composition and whose replaces her. Whose is used to show possession. It carries the same meaning as other possessive pronouns used as adjective his, her, its, and their. Like his, her, its, and their, whose is connected to a noun. For example, his bicycle to be whose bicycle. Her composition to be whose composition. Both whose and the noun, it is connected to are placed at the beginning of the adjective clause. Whose cannot be omitted. Whose usually modifies people, but it may also be used to modify things, as in example number 3. D. Using where and when in adjective clause. Number 1. Using where. The first sentence is the building is very old. The second, he lived there. There means in that building. It can be combined to be A. The building where he lived is very old. B. The building in which he lived is very old. C. The building which he lived in is very old. D. The building that he lived in is very old. And E. The building he lived in is very old. Where is used in an adjective clause to modify a place, like city, country, room, house, and etc. If where is used, a preposition in is not included in the adjective clause, as in A. For example, A. The building where he lived is very old. In is not used in this example. If where is not used, the preposition in must be included, as in B, C, D, and E. For example, the building he lived in is very old. Number 2. Using when. For example, the first sentence, I'll never forget the day. The second, I met you then. That means on that day. It can be combined to be A. I'll never forget the day when I met you. B. I'll never forget the day on which I met you. C. I'll never forget the day that I met you. And D. I'll never forget the day I met you. When is used in an adjective clause to modify a noun of time. For example, year, day, time, century, and etc. The use of a preposition in an adjective clause that modifies a noun of time is somewhat different from that in other adjective clause. A preposition is used presenting which, as in be. Otherwise, the preposition is omitted. Now we are going to exercise 1. In exercise 1, we have to combine the two sentences using the second sentences as an adjective clause. For example, the first sentence, I saw the man, and the second, he closed the door. It can be combined to be, I saw the man who closed the door. Okay, I will give you 10 minutes to do this exercise. Exercise 2. Direction, correct the errors. So, in this exercise, we have to analyze the sentence that have error. So, all of the numbers of this exercise 2 are error. For example, number 1, one of the people which I admire most is my uncle, which is used for thing. So, because we talk about people, the people, so it must be who, not which. One of the people who I admire most is my uncle. For example, like that. I will give you 10 minutes to do this exercise. Exercise 3. Direction. Work in a group of 4 or as a class. Only the leader's book is open. So, there will be a leader. So, the leader direct the question to the group as a whole or sometimes to a particular student. The leader asks a student, for example, speaker A. Speaker A, answer the question, inventing your answer if necessary. And then the leader asks another student to summarize the information in speaker A's response in one sentence beginning with the. And then speaker B begin with the use an adjective clause. Summarize what speaker A said before. For example, leader to group. Who got a letter yesterday? Speaker A. I did. Leader to A. Who is it from? Speaker A. My brother. Leader to B. Can you summarize this information? Begin with the. Speaker B. The letter Ali got yesterday was from his brother. So you have to make a group and make a conversation like that. Before we close our meeting, let's summarize what have we learned today. Uh, we have learned about relative clause, or it can be called as adjective clause. There are two types of it. The first is relative pronoun that consists of who, whom, which, whose, and that. And the second is relative adverb. that consists of where and when. If you have any question, you can discuss it with your friend or ask me after this class or next meeting. Okay, thank you for your nice attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Have a nice day.